Wilmot, who's got pace, elects to use it, gets to 45. Wilmot, nice finish. We had a few misses, Wilmot doesn't. Still they come, the Lions. Could still work out. Bailey from a tight angle. Strange football and brilliant finish. Morris for 4. Brisbane have taken the lead in Norwood. Wonderful angle from behind. Archie, a touch of brilliance from Archie. And now Brisbane stretch away. Eric for another goal. Hipwood screams in. What about the celebration now? Look at Eric runs away. Remarkable from Hipwood. He's kicked 5.5.
The Brisbane Lions are sitting at the top of the AFL ladder after their first 5-0 start since 1992. And this, our most dramatic comeback so far in 2025, but not our most recent. There is a definite pattern going on with our football team at the moment, Patrick, and here we are to discuss it all thanks to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. Eric Hipwood had a very bad half of football and then a very good half of football. Hugh McCluggage had 4 very good quarters of football. Other players were here and then they weren't there. We had the shit kicked out of us in the second quarter by the Western Bulldogs. We saw a genuine one-on-one matchup between the best forward in the league and the best defender in the league. This game had just about everything except the appropriate venue to host it. What are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I was checking my belt for an onion, but none found there. It was a very fun game of football. And I kind of liked the country feel, but at the same time, the lament of Carlton West Coast followed by the lament of Melbourne Essendon was quite palpably felt amongst the football community. So any Carlton aficionados that'll tell you like, oh, you know, you wouldn't have sold out the Adelaide Oval, don't understand how Gather Round works in that everything was sold out and everything will be sold out forever. So it doesn't really matter who's where. Play the best games wherever they need to be played. I personally think that it should go Adelaide on Thursday, Collingwood because they're the biggest team on Friday, the Premiers, and then Port Adelaide. That's how it should be fixtured, and fight me if you think otherwise because I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. I mean, Essendon is a big enough Victorian club, but I guess having 14th and 17th and 18th v 16th at Adelaide Oval on that Saturday is probably... I know it's hard to forecast exactly how all those teams are going to go and you're just purely basing it on crowd numbers, but whatever. We had a cracking match, and as the formula has been for 2025, we got off to a very slow start before storming home in a almost flawless third quarter, and that continued on into the fourth and ended up winning by 21 points in the end, which was a little bit surprising in the end, considering the first half, I really thought the Dogs were the better team. Like, obviously, that second quarter was basically perfect from them. That even the first quarter, and as I said on our socials, they dominated general play, but left the door open for us. They were wasteful in front of goal and let a few opportunities slip and kept us in it.
Yeah, let's not forget that we led at quarter time.
I know.
Technically speaking, 3-quarter performance. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they were the better team in the first quarter.
No doubt. It was a good. I mean, Gather Round had kind of started pretty. I don't know. I said I hated Gather Round on the Discord, or Gather Round blows because fried my tips the first 2 rounds. Adelaide they ran out of juice for their 5-day break, and then Collingwood absolutely slaughtered whoever they played, Sydney.
Yep.
But going into the game, no changes for us.
Yep.
And they just had that angry redhead with the mustache that didn't play because he elbowed someone or something. And he has pulled out some pretty good goals against us in the past few years, so I was quite happy with that. His name escapes me at this point in time, but
Oscar
that's all right.
Baker,
yeah. Oscar Baker. Pretty good. So I was happy to see him out of the team. But, yeah, I mean, our team's kind of fun to watch. And I think there's a few little things going on which I think will lend us to being in most games a lot of the time, even though we're out of it. But on the whole, yeah, pretty shit first half, gotta say.
Yeah, like probably some of our worst in recent memory, especially that second quarter. Our pressure was non-existent. Our midfield was getting absolutely smoked. Clearances, contested possessions, they were just dominating every facet of the game, especially in that second quarter. We were sort of thereabouts in the first, but as I said, they dominated general play and looked the better team, and they had 2 out on the fulls and were wasteful in front of goal. That kept us in it, and Logan Morris made the most of his chances, and Darcy Wilmot with a lovely goal on the run, bursting through the centre of the field.
I forgot that happened.
Yeah, it kept us in it at quarter time before, it all unravelled in that second quarter, and I thought, okay, this has got to be it. This is our chickens coming home to roost. Us trailing at halftime and bringing it home, like, it's not sustainable, and this is the game we're going to find out it's just not sustainable. But I guess not. I guess not.
No, it was probably the best football played of the season so far, and I think.
Oh, I still think our third quarter against Geelong was probably our best, where we kept them absolutely scoreless and piled on a few goals. But this would be up there.
I suppose the stretch of 9 goals straight was just, I'm talking competition wide as well. No one's done that. No one's doing that against a reasonably good opponent. And it's not to say like Bulldogs are missing 3 pretty important players, but that said, we were too last year, so who cares? Sucked in. But yeah, we bollocks them, didn't we?
We did in the end. We were completely around and right over the top of them. And, whatever was said at halftime, Fague said, all he had to do was simply point to the numbers in the middle of the ground and said, hey, we're getting absolutely smacked here in the contest. We're getting blitzed out of the middle, clearances, points from clearances, scores from stoppage, all that sort of stuff. Like, we are in the red by a long, long way. And then obviously after the game, Hugh McCluggage said on a Triple M interview, Fague said, if anyone thinks they're playing their best footy at the moment, stand up. And apparently one bloke stood up. So we were well below our best. And the Dogs were really, really good in that second quarter.
Who was that one?
Well, yeah. Having already listened to the Raw deal, and I said it at the time as well, Logan Morris is the one that sort of jumps out because he was playing well in that first half, and he does strike me as the sort of bloke that might do that.
Yeah, well, fair enough.
Dunks probably could have put his hand up as well and said he was. Dunks probably could have said. Jared Berry was probably up there as well. Fletcher had a few moments, but yeah, it was below par across the park from basically everyone.
That's pretty good. I don't mind that. So we were getting, I think Fague said, walloped around the ball.
Yeah, we
walloped
were
in clearance, and a lot of flack was going on our forwards, and Hipwood didn't obviously play very well in the first half, but one of the things that I don't think, so Jonathan Brown, Dermot Brett and Wayne Carey always have that kind of mystique of, well, if you're out of a game or you're playing garbage, there's always a chance you can just turn it on in 10, 15 minutes, kick a few goals, change the complexion of the game. And it's almost like people forget that that's possible in football. And I think a lot of Hipwood's games that he's impacted well have happened in short bursts like that. I remember one against Melbourne a few years back, maybe 2019, where he kicked, I think, 4 goals either side of halftime. He does it in little bursts, and I understand it's frustrating, and people probably want more output out of him. I still think he's not super fit, but this could be a confidence-building game for his body and what he can do in his attack of the contest, because I'm never going to say that he's lazy, because I don't think he is. In any game I've ever watched him play in the flesh, I could never accuse him of being lazy, and people do, and I don't buy it. So probably the first kind of like actual snapshot of our forward line proper, and it took about a half to kind of get used to it. So But it was good. Logan Morris stood up early in the game when we needed someone to do something to keep us in the game. And then the rest of the cavalry came. And it was a fun watch. I watched the second half again later that night instead of watching Essendon and Melbourne because I wasn't going to give myself a lobotomy like that. So,
fair shout.
Yeah, it was good. And I mean, really, everyone really chipped in, by the end of the game, I don't think there were too many that you kind of would say, well, they had a horrible game or they had a nightmare or they were, terrible. I mean, we're still kind of trying to see and get the most out of Day at the moment. And I thought Oscar was a bit not himself.
Yeah, he seemed to, Tim English seemed to get him a bit across the game.
And Tim English is someone who he's stitched up in the past at least a couple times. So maybe Tim English remembered that and he really lifted for this and, the blonde robot kind of pulled out a pretty good game. So, what were some things that stood out to you in that third quarter?
I guess the positional shift for Rayner to play a little bit more just out of the square as like a deep forward, I thought was really good. Obviously, Hipwood's intensity lift, just the general pressure lift, and that was brought up a number of times on broadcast, like our pressure around the ball and around the ground everywhere. And as you said, everyone just sort of stepped up that little bit. Bailey stepped up much more, I thought. Sam Darcy was kept pretty quiet after half-time. And just... yeah, most noticeably, just the pressure around the ball, especially in the middle of the ground, the Bulldogs weren't able to just walk it out at will, slipping through tackles that we may or may not have tried to land.
Yeah, I think the broken tackles were pretty palpable in the first half. But you said Cam Rayner shifting to kind of playing out of the goal square. I think that kind of split apart Liam Jones and Lobb and Buku as well. Like, they're a pretty good defensive unit, those three.
I thought Lobb was having a great game.
Lobb was good. Lobb's somehow managed to become quite a good footballer in the past, half a year. So good for him. Didn't like the hair this week. Liked it the other week and the other week, but this one was stupid and was rightly punished. So sucked in. But yeah, I think the missed tackles in the first half sucked, and we were disposing of the ball a lot better. I mean, that game there were so many, and I kind of want to talk about this a little bit more, although I don't know what the point of it is, but the not 15s and the suspect disposals were like awful. There were some passages of play in this game that were like, my eyes were burning watching them, of just like 7 throws in a row followed by this. And like, if they don't fix this, particularly the holding the ball rule, it's not that hard. I really don't think it is that hard to fix. Because if 9 people out of 10 can tell you what is and what isn't, they're doing something so wrong. But that might be a discussion for later or for another time.
Yeah. So I hear what you're saying. And I think Kane Corns brought it up on the AFL website as well about the incorrect disposals, and he used our game as the prime example. But yeah, the non-15 calls, there were heaps of them.
Well, across the weekend as well. Did you see the one, it was funnily enough in that horrendous game that I didn't watch, where I think Langdon kicked it from outside the behind post to the other side of the goal, and it was called not 15. And everyone knows that like in between the goalposts is 7 meters each, which would make that a 23-meter kick. And it's like, can we, if you don't know that as an umpire, you get out of here. Like, I'm just bereft of any kind of understanding of that you can kick the ball the entire width of the whole goals and be called play on. But it was Melbourne, so I don't care.
Yeah, fair shout.
Yeah. Hipwood turning into prime Wayne Carey was good. Like that.
It was funny because about 5 minutes into the third, I think the Bulldogs had just kicked their 2 to get 39 in front. I was thinking, all right, we probably need to pull the trigger on the sub here, get Will McLaughlin into the game, see if we can change things up a little bit. I'm thinking it's either going to be Charlie Cameron or Eric Hipwood, because obviously Eric Hipwood's done FA to this point, and Charlie Cameron has sprayed some set shots on goal right after you said he was back on the set shot. Didn't he absolutely mung those two? Jeez.
I think one of them I was in the bathroom for, and I heard it, and I was glad I didn't see it. So yeah, about that.
No sooner did I think that than Eric kicked his first one. I was like, oh well, he's in the game now, but that might just be it for him. And I'm glad that that call wasn't made, and Bruce ended up being the guy subbed off in the end.
Yeah, Bruce is an interesting one with the sub and just his kind of lack of effectiveness. I mean, he had the bun this week, and to me, bun reveal is the least one I like. He seems to be the most timid, as a librarian would be. Bring back the pony. There was a funny moment. So I was sitting watching the game at home, obviously, and so Bailey kicked that kind of bullshit one from the pocket, and then Hipwood took that kind of, I think he took like contested mark, the chest mark.
Yep.
And after he did that, I said, like, we need like Rayner to do something. Like, if Rayner scores a goal or does something, we'll win. And he took that mark against Liam Jones and kicked the goal. Now, I know that I can't prove that, but I said it, and it was good, and it exactly worked. And I think when we got within a goal at three-quarter time, there's just such faith in this team that we're gonna be able to run over the top of them.
Yeah, and they must obviously know that too. Yeah.
It's if we're close, it's not even like the Collingwood one from a couple of years ago, where like if they're close, they'll come over the top of you in a close one. It's like, we'll come over the top, and then we'll throw you out of the car and drive off.
Yeah.
The doggies kicked a couple of late ones, and then the kind of, that one at the end that didn't matter, but they were getting nowhere near us, like, really. And it's just, the team are so, having watched a lot of football at the start of this year and, continuously, our team is so skilled in terms of foot skills and hand skills that it doesn't really matter who has the ball ever. Stuff's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. And that's where the pressure and the effort and stuff can be like, if that's not there, then we're in trouble, because that needs to be there to allow anyone to get the ball and do something, because they do it and it results in a goal. It's amazing, because some of the other teams are like, all right, well, if we give it to this specific dude at this time, we might have a kick inside 50 that might lead to a goal. And with us, it's like, just give it to anyone, and we'll kick a goal somehow. It'll happen. And I love it. It's so good. It's so nice having like just an unbelievably skilled team.
Yeah. It's certainly very, very handy to have and I guess that's that's been the point of a lot of the media guys over the last few years, is just there's too much talent on the list, and now it's all sort of seems to be clicking, but in a very weird way. I still don't believe that going about this in the way that we have been, I mean, it's obviously not by design. I'm surely thinking they're not sitting there going, oh yeah, let's let them get 5 goals in front and then we'll switch on. Like, it can't be sustainable long term. No,
but I think it's sustainable in the short term.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is. We're 5-0 for the first time in a very, very long time. Not even in the 01, 02, 03 year did we start the season 5-0, which is absolutely crazy to think. So, yeah, there's still work to be done. There's still, things to improve on. And as Jared Berry said in an interview the next day, it's like, it'll be fun when we do put 4 quarters of footy together.
We did that in the grand final.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Oh, God. The last quarter was, it was almost like a procession, in my opinion. We knew what was coming. They knew what was coming. And, once we got out to a lead, they came back with a couple of cheap goals because they got, I don't know, I think it was a free kick, and then one out of the ruck, which was a bit reminiscent of that elimination final, which made me annoyed. And Calamachi decided to just...
How good was that?
Ice cold. Well, the Czech side was good.
Yeah. The drop
he also got put on the drop punt was amazing, and the camera work was fantastic. The Czech side was like, he caught that ball on like the point of the square, and they pushed him all the way around.
Yeah.
It's like... Another but I like the Czech side, particularly in South Australia. Good.
How crazy was it that it got dark real quick?
Yeah, well, I think as well, the first half we just the sun looked stupid.
Yeah.
It looked like it was absolutely just blazing in the eyes. And I understand both teams played the conditions, but we didn't handle it very well, I don't think. So that could have been part of the reason why we were a little bit less than good. But how did you see the Harris and Darcy?
It's a tough one. 2 goals, 3 he ended up on. Still ended up taking, 6 to 8 marks or something. But then Harris was effective. A lot of people calling it a 0-0 draw and they sort of broke even. I tend to agree with that. I think if Sam Darcy had have kicked maybe 1 or 2 more goals and ended on, 4 goals 1 or, even 5 goals, 3 goals 2, then he probably wins that battle. I thought both had really good moments across the day and both had moments I wish they would probably do differently. But yeah, I think it was a great battle and I really hope we see it again. I felt for sure that they would put Jack Payne on Sam Darcy and try and free Harris Andrews up. But Jack Payne, that matchup with Norton was looking a little bit ominous in that first half, but Jack Payne's second half was, much like the rest of the team, was huge.
Yeah, he worked into the game really well, and Norton worked out of the game, having started pretty well. I think, Norton, I still get flashbacks from that Ballarat game a few years ago where Norton decided to just, be the best key forward in the competition for one day only. So when he kind of started doing stuff, it was like contested mark and a goal. I was like, oh, shit, not this guy. What did you think of the overturned goal from Darcy, the touched by Harris?
Yeah. I think it was there.
Yeah, I mean, again, I sound like I'm bagging umpires, but to me, the field umpire needs to be close enough to be able to hear that, because you can hear the sound as it goes past. Anyone that's been to local footy knows that you can hear the double sound if it goes past the hands. I leave it up to the ARC. I didn't think that there was evidence to overturn that, but colour me wrong, and I'm glad I was.
There was one particular angle where you could see that his fingers bent back, and it's sort of, you're like, okay, he's touched that. So,
but I just think that the umpires are not doing the simple things of their job very well at the moment. They're not things like that. Things like people running off the line when they're taking set shots. They're not calling these things. They're not getting close enough to what they're doing, and then they get knocked out in games.
Oh yeah, that was pretty grim, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I know the umpires have a lot of work to do, and I think they're going about it in the wrong way to do it. So, it was a very compelling duel between the two of them. I think Harris probably, to his strength, tried to really use his mature body and his running ability to kind of. I mean, Darcy was kind of cramping, having a bit of issues by the end of the second half. So that's playing to your strengths, and that's playing the mind games that I think someone like Harris you'd expect him to do. So that was good. And would you like to talk about any more about Eric Hipwood?
Yeah. As you said that you had flashbacks of Aaron Norton, there would be Doggies fans going, what the hell is it about us and Eric Hipwood saving bags of goals for us? Because he kicked 6 last time we played them, and now he's put on 5.5 a footy. And, I would say it is unlikely that he's got another, he's going to be kicking a bag of 5 every week. We may see it 1 or 2 more times this year, but maybe not as well. He's just managed to do it against the Dogs for a couple of times in a row.
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously fantastic, and I really hope it does him the world of good in terms of confidence, because he is the whipping boy for a lot of fans, and the socials, especially at halftime, were blowing up with people venting frustrations, of course, and a lot of people immediately go to Sam Day and Eric Hipwood, as they did about Joey and Hipwood, and it's rinse and repeat, and then he obviously just really stepped up.
Yeah, I think it's easier to do that when you've got the ball coming in, though. So
yeah,
but it was a highlight reel from him, and I couldn't be more happy for that weird guy.
And the big hanger as well on the wing, fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Over the top of lob. I'm sure we'll get shafted again on the agenda setters for the mark of the round.
I mean, it wasn't. It was good, but it wasn't amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the ones that have won, and Logan Morris didn't get that one where he brained Calamachi. So, beautiful. Closed out the game pretty bloody well as, they kicked the consolation, and it was done. They were broken. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, we're putting on big scores, but I still think we are probably letting our opposition score a bit too heavily as well. So it's something I would like to see tightened up as the season goes on. And we've got Collingwood this weekend. I think they're sneaky good, Collingwood. I mean, it's probably not that sneaky. They're top 4 at the moment, and they've won their last 4, but they've won them well, pretty convincingly as well. So that's another challenge coming up on Thursday night at the Gabba.
Yeah, Collingwood are one that I've been kind of hard on in a certain way, just in terms of I think they could be top 4, but they could be out of the 8.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of assess them at the beginning of the year. Probably not reinventing the wheel in terms of that opinion, but the old blokes can drop off if they're not looked after in a certain way, and we've got to stop the rod against them because they're 3 over us.
Yep.
In the last, however many. 3 of 3. We had the wood over them for a long time before that, and there's some kind of there's a 5-day break. It's our first one of the year, so that's one that is a little bit of a keep an eye out for me. I don't know if you remember last year, but I was quite adamant that I thought that the 4-day breaks, the 5-day breaks, the sort of playing Thursday or Friday and then Sunday was really kind of unsettling the balance of the team. And I think to go on with that, this year, given that we virtually play, or we've played Saturdays and Sundays the whole season so far, I think if we threw in like a Thursday and Friday and a Sunday, I don't think we'd win all 5 of our games. I just think the routine and the consistency, particularly having a bit of an interrupted preseason, and then obviously all of the stuff up there with the Storms, that level of consistency has really helped us. So it'll be a big test on Thursday.
And yeah, it helped us in the back end of last year as well because, as you spoke about, and we will touch on a little bit later because we have got a question come through from Ziggy about this one. That's the back half of last year we were sort of graveyard shifts. Yeah, those Saturday, Sunday games, Thursdays, Fridays, out of the question, and, rarely any even Saturday night games as well. So, and that's when we won 9 in a row. So I would imagine, if we start getting a little bit freaky with the fixture, it might sort of alter how we go. Collingwood, the extra day preparation, but they've also got an extra travel as well. So it does, I would imagine it evens out a little bit. Yeah. They're probably not used to traveling twice in 2 weeks. I wouldn't have thought that would happen to them very, very rarely. So, and I'm sure they're obviously massive fans of it happening to them now. So that's something to consider for them. So, even-ish.
Did you see that there was like the annual random GWS player that's played 20 games? Like, it happens every year. It's like, so-and-so's played 25 games and he's played at more venues than Scott Pendlebury.
Yeah.
It's like, Harvey Thomas maybe?
Yeah, I did see that. That's crazy, man.
Unbelievable. But, I don't know, is what it is.
It blows my mind that Scott Pendlebury's never played at GMHBA.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be a few trivia kind of questions about that.
Yeah.
Side-eyed ones. So,
Scott
where has he not played? It's like he certainly hasn't played at Manuka Oval.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Oh, dear.
Let's get into some votes for Hop On Brewery Tours. Book yourself a half for a full-day tour right now at hoponbrewerytours.com.au. Tough one for votes this week. And I am going to apologise to Mr. Eric Hipwood, who has missed out after a 5-goal half a footy. I thought Hugh McCluggage was far and away the best on ground across all 4 quarters. I've given 2 to Logan Morris, the other key forward, because I thought he stood up when others didn't in the first half and kept us in it and finished with a bag of 4 himself. And Jared Berry, the 1 vote for me. He had a great game.
Yeah, pretty good. I'll give Logan the 1, McCluggage the 2, and Hipwood gets my fucking 3.
Yeah, fair enough.
Obviously.
And I did think about giving him the votes because, as I said before, there may not be another opportunity to give him votes for the rest of the year. But I thought just because Logan performed across the whole game, he probably earned it a little bit more in that respect. A lot of Hipwood's goals came from the goal square as well. And yeah, McCluggage was best, and he's now leading the coaches' votes after the first 5 rounds, and would definitely be leading our best and fairest, I would have thought, as well.
Good boy. Yeah, it's a funny one to have Hipwood, Morris, and Norton kick more goals than Darcy.
Mm.
You know, if you'd said that at the beginning of the day, like who's obviously obviously Day wasn't going to kick more goals than Darcy, but you know, the other keys did a good job. So that was excellent.
Let's talk about Sam Day. He's 4 games in now, and I did say I would reserve any sort of judgment till about 4 or 5 games. It's tough because there was no VFL this week, so Henry Smith didn't get the chance to press his case a little bit more.
He was also out with concussion protocol.
Yeah, there's that too, so that's probably not a bad thing in the end. But yeah, Sam Day, thoughts?
His ruck work's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked cool with blood coming down his face.
Right. See, if that's what we're grasping at here, that's probably not a great sign, is it? Yeah, it's a tough one because he's not done anything to go, yeah, that's our guy. And I really thought I would have seen at least something by now. I would hope to have seen something by now. That game against Richmond, as I said, he found himself in some good spots, and his link-up play was quite nice at times. But you know, we do need him to impact the scoreboard. And I just think that maybe, you know, if his ruck work is okay, we might as well have Darcy Fort, who will impact the scoreboard the same amount, if not more, and whose ruck work is better than okay.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, because if I think about it now back to the game and I go, well, they had Jones, who Rayner was basically playing on, and then Lobb, who was playing on Hipwood. Who was on Day? Was it Buku?
Yeah, potentially. Maybe Bailey Dale.
So what's...
But then again, I mean, it might be a case of, and I didn't see this in the moment, Sam Day's game against Jeremy McGovern, who kept Jeremy McGovern quite quiet on that day, and that was sort of unrewarded work from people like me, the shit munchers out there. Maybe because Bailey Dale didn't have the best game either. Maybe Sam Day's job on the day was to keep Bailey Dale out of it, and you know, maybe that was the case, maybe it wasn't. I don't know, but yeah, it's just sort of at the point where I'm like, okay, you know, if Henry Smith had played again and kicked another 3 goals, had 20 odd touches, took some marks, I'd be saying, yeah, get him in. But we haven't got that.
I think it could be a hard sell to have 2 people with kind of underdone pre-seasons between him and Hipwood, just in terms of like they're both potentially players that can go missing. And I understand Day's virtually been anonymous, but like, yeah, I still feel like there's a few more games on the table to reserve my thoughts.
Yeah, like I am prepared to give him another one. Like, he'll be coming up against, you know, Darcy Cameron is a great ruckman for Collingwood. He's having a great year, and he had a great year last year as well. I don't know. I'm not sure who's playing backup ruck for them. Maybe it's McStay. Would make sense. He's done it before. Or if they're going with the 2 rucks with Mason Cox, but I don't think is that something they're doing? Like, I just make it Mason Cox.
Not at the moment, no. I think Coxie's played maybe 1 or 2 games this year, but I could be wrong. To me, it just seems like Darcy Cameron's doing the bulk of it, and then I think they're chopping out with McStay. Yeah. McStay, that old chestnut.
I mean, I like Dan McStay.
I don't like him anymore. He looks too Collingwood now. Like he's gotten a bit like sinewy, and you can tell. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
He hasn't got the tattoos yet. Yeah, so it'll be a wait and see. I don't think Fags is going to drop Sam Day this week. I think he will get another game, maybe 2, but at the same time, if Darcy Fort gets named instead of him, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Yeah, I think probably Dale stay. Yeah. But I think Kai Lohmann, is he anywhere near?
I believe so. The last injury update, and we won't get it until tomorrow, and most people would probably know by the stage they hear this. I think he was likely to be available, and you would imagine he just comes in for Will McLaughlin, and that Bruce goes back to sub, unless they want to inject Connor McKenna in instead of Bruce, because it's weird, like Connor McKenna just completely forgotten at this stage.
Well, I think it's just there's no necessary room for him right at the moment. They need that link man in Reveal, but I mean McLaughlin's a very niche sub.
Yeah.
I mean you're looking at reshuffling everything if there was an injury or something like that. So yeah, I think Lohmann probably comes in and Rev goes sub. Or I mean I don't hate the idea of Connor McKenna being back. I think he's versatile enough, and
yeah,
had a good preseason.
Yeah,
and then just sort of
he looked really good in the preseason. He was playing better footy in the preseason, arguably than he did most of last year, and he could play down back or up forward. He was, got that versatility behind him, and we just haven't seen him really in the season proper, which has been a bit of a strain. And not even really on the emergency bench either, which has just been quite odd. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got a role to play across the season. I'm sure he will.
Maybe he's spending all of his time practicing for the return of international rules.
Maybe, or he's at Eagle Farm tending to his horses, whatever he's up to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Have
we got any questions this week?
We do. We've got plenty of questions. But before we do, I can't really foresee any other changes.
No.
We do have... there was a bit of an update on Brandon Starcevich. So Chris Fagan said we're looking at maybe 6 to 8 weeks before we see Starce again. And that was simply due to a lack of activity. He spent a month on the couch, barely, didn't rock into the club all that much, did a little bit of running, but it just basically rested for a month, which is not a bad thing at all. We do face a little bit of a selection headache when he does become available, while Jasper is playing great footy down back. And then Kitty Coleman around the same time frame as well, but yeah, I would hope that he plays a few games in the twos. Yeah,
selection will get to that when that's an issue, but I mean my knee-jerk reaction is probably that with Fletcher doing quite a good job down back. I mean, I don't hate Fletcher as a winger, I have a big soft spot for people that play wing and do it well, which is why I liked Jackson Pryor more when he played as a winger than when he played as a half backman. I don't think that lent itself to his skill set, whereas Fletcher is like a duck in water everywhere he goes. So I think that unfortunately, like the Noz might be the one to go out for Starcevich when Starcevich comes out with Fletcher holding a spot. But that's one for the future. So
possibly, yeah.
I don't have to deal with that because I'm not on the selection panel. So cool.
No, but we do like to play God every week on the show here when it comes to selection. It is going to be one to watch out for because you can't move Zorko. Like, you cannot move Zorko now.
No, not at the moment. Kadeen Coleman, that could just be a rotate, and it could be the sort of thing to take a bit of load off of Zorko at the moment. But yeah, it was the round was one for the old blokes, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
We had Dangerfield was really good. Pendle side bottom was really good. Zorko, Gunston kicked 6. Yeah, what a dumb round of football.
Gunston. What a time that was. All right, let's get into some questions. Thanks to Crisp Communications, crispcoms.co, or you can always get your free Brisbane Lions Fancast sticker thanks to Abby and the team at Crisp Communications through our website at brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. First one is an audio one. It comes from Ben.
Good evening, fellas. Just finished watching the Doggies game. Good win. Now, we're kind of pretty much sort of 25% of the way through the season, and if Zach Bailey keeps up his form, surely he's a walk-in for the All-Australian team. Not really any other small forward in the comp is really sort of taking a grasp on that spot at the moment. You could argue Jack Higgins potentially, but he's a little bit annoying. Zach Bailey, give it to him. Keep it up.
Thought Zach Bailey as a small forward All-Australian squad, if not 22 team member at this stage. He's definitely had a good start to the year.
Well, he's got one thing right. Jack Higgins is annoying.
Yeah, I can't stand Jack Higgins. But he's playing good footy as well.
Well, he didn't play good footy on the weekend, so... no, I think this form has been kind of threatening for a long time, and I don't know whether Zach Bailey's kind of got his body right or he's making better decisions.
Yep.
And it was good to see years and years of trying with the fend all culminate in that fend and then dish to the goal square. So good for him. I think it would be probably pretty hard to argue. I mean, Toby Green's still there or thereabouts.
He's dropped off a little bit since he was
He kicked 5 goals on the weekend.
Yeah.
So, you know, and they always look for those kind of big performances rather than like a super consistent thing, which seems to be kind of annoying. But, I mean, All Australian is, if you'd asked me, would Harris Andrews be in there the last 5 years, I probably would have said yes.
Yeah,
so,
true.
You can never know, but, I mean, Zach Bailey's playing good football, and if we're the beneficiary of that, that's the most important thing.
All right, next one.
Can I just jut in here before you go on to any more? Are there any questions? Because I dealt with a bit of heat after last week's episode.
Did you?
Yeah, about my my vocalization of not really liking Hutto as a commentator.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yeah, fair enough. And now I want to provide some context to that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, righto.
Well, it's more just like, I feel like Hutto tries to commentate the moment more than the game. You know, he's trying to be that soundbite. And I that just kind of, it irritates me a little bit.
Sure. Well, you do need that.
No, you don't.
Okay.
I don't think you do. You don't need Miracle on Grasses. You don't need Hippie Hippie
Yes,
Shakes.
you do. You don't need Hippie Hippie Shakes.
No, you don't.
But that's got Dwayne Russell written all over it.
Dwayne Russell is the worst at that.
Yeah.
And I got to say, having had Howie commentate the last few weeks, he's growing on me a bit more.
Yeah. But then again, it's annoying when they miss moments as well. Like Levi Ashcroft kicking that belter of a goal, like his first goal a couple of weeks ago, the commentary was really flat on that.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, Charlie Cameron took an absolute hanger in the forward 50 against Hawthorn, and like Brian Taylor, who's captain, going over the top was really flat, and it made the moment shit.
Yeah, I think I think the thing with me is there's enthusiasm for the moment, and then there's saying things that don't really work for the moment. And it's probably because I'm old-fashioned, but it's why I like, and someone put in the Discord this week, they said, what's your favorite moment of, you know, commentary or whatever from the final series? And mine by a country mile is when Rayner kicked the goal against Geelong, but with the 3AW commentary, because it's pure commentary of what the moment is with enthusiasm, without blowing it way out of proportion, which I don't think anyone else did in that moment, funnily enough. But that moment was a great moment for a lot of different commentary teams. But I'm a little bit old fashioned with it. I like enthusiasm whilst calling the game. And I think Hutto can get a little bit lost. I don't like my Jason Acker menace. Don't love that from 2003 grand final. I feel like it's forced.
Okay.
But I do like, I didn't mind BT when Rayner kicked that left foot goal and stumbling over left foot kick from 50, left foot kick from 50. That is fantastic because he's losing his shit so bad he can't string his words together. So,
what about
I don't know.
The infamous BT on Triple M 2016 grand final when Boyd kicks the goal out of the centre square?
That's fantastic. But also, I think I've spoken about this on this podcast before, but in the 2003 grand final, when Hutto did the Jason Acker menace, if you go to Triple M commentary, BT just goes, Acker menace, oh, that is bullshit. And like, because he, you know, palms off about 3 guys and kicks a goal. And it's just,
yeah,
that stuff's funny. Like, you know, it's reactionary stuff. And I think it's why when I'm at games, I'm a bit of a quiet observer. Yeah. I'm not a loud chanter. I don't go over the top, but I react to what's going on. So it's just, I guess it's a personality thing. But I don't think Hutto's a bad commentator, and I'm totally understand people and why they like him. It's just not for me. And I just wanted to kind of like say that because I wasn't saying that he's shit and no one should like him. I said that's not my cup of tea. I don't love his voice as well.
Yeah, okay, well, there's not much you can do about that, I suppose. All right,
And a lot of people don't like my voice. I don't like my own voice, for the record. So, captive audience here, sucked in.
Let's get back to the questions. We have touched on this, so we won't spend a huge amount of time. As Ziggy said, we've had a 6-7 day break for the first few weeks. This will be our first 5-day break. And last year, with the scheduling woes, it may have contributed to our poor start. I'm a little bit worried it may be the case this week, and we sort of have touched on this one. It is something to think about going into this Thursday game, because it does take away a day of recovery or a day of training or something that prepares us for this game, where we are starting slow in the games we're playing as well, and then take away a day of recovery, strength training, skills, whatever. It could contribute to another slow start.
I have a funny feeling that last season, as I sort of said, the studded start, it was more the games that were on Thursday and then them not going back into the club over the weekend until the following Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday.
Which was the weird thing for me. And just checking the fixture here, we don't play until Saturday after that. So we've got a, what is that, 9-day break? 8-day break?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So I think this one-off should be okay.
Yeah,
and we're playing Collingwood. It's Easter. It's a big game. Biggest game of the season, or traditionally was. Now we're getting sellouts all over the place. So
certainly are.
Yeah, I'm not as worried, but I admit I was a little bit spooked when I realised. I was like, shit, we've got to play on Thursday.
Yeah. It's going to come around quick. So. All right, next one from Ben, who sent through an email at blfancast@gmail.com. He wants to give you a shout-out. He said you correctly predicted that Hipwood's osteitis pubis recovery would eventually click. He says, please feel free to make further predictions for our favour. He said it's also great to see Logan Morris coming into his own and still well and truly in the running for the Coleman. He predicted after round 2. He's only 6 off the pace at Coleman at the moment, and that was before the Sunday game. So, yeah, I doubt he's Coleman medal winner worthy at this stage. Maybe in another 4 or 5 years he might be in the top echelon, but yeah.
I'll make a prediction that we'll win more premierships than get Coleman medalists, and I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I don't think our team lends itself to a Coleman medalist. And I know Joe was quite close last year, but I just think we've got too many avenues to goal.
Yep.
Whereas you look at a lot of the other teams and they're really focused. The only other exception to that is just like Adelaide, but, whatever.
Yeah.
They lost because they had a 5-day break and ran out of steam.
Well, I hope that's not our case. Dale, I know our midfield is strong, but why not give Rayner more of a run in the middle when he's been struggling to get into games? It's a bit of a tough one. Like, I see the merit in that, and there's definitely times I agree, but it means taking a Will Ashcroft or a Josh Dunkley or a Lockie Neal or a Hugh McCluggage out of that midfield. Whereas the other option that we saw on the weekend is play him out of the square as a deep forward and try and get him to the game that way. And I thought that worked quite nicely.
I just think that we've kind of got to live with the fact that he sort of will just impact games with minimal kind of presence until he just decides not to occasionally, which does happen. So
I can't remember who it was. It might have been Kingy, and I'm not sure in what context it was. I think it might have been on SEN this morning, Fireball. He said he's one of the... have you ever seen someone with greater impact with less touches? That sort of thing. It's like he requires the minimum amount of touches to have a decent enough impact on games, but it hasn't been that great this year. That was his best game on the weekend for sure against the Dogs. He had
it was his most impactful game, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then you hit the scoreboard, obviously, that huge mark in the square, the 2-footed just upright jump and brought it down. That was massive. Set up a couple as well.
Rare good take from Kingy. So credit where credit's due. But yeah, I just think if the forward line, if we take him out of the forward line and then we're sort of going, well, what if Hipwood doesn't fire? What if Day doesn't do anything? And then you're going, well, who else is there? So I think we're lighter in the forward line and he should probably spend more of his time there. So.
Yeah. And I think in the preseason as well, we saw him as like a marking forward, especially in that first tri-series game against Collingwood and the Gold Coast.
The famous try series.
Yeah. Whatever you want to refer to that as, he was sort of like a lead-up marking forward that we were using quite often as an avenue to goal. So we'll say it's a tough one because you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul with that midfield because there is so much strength that we can have rolling through there. And I don't mind him, with a few CBAs, but like Levi hasn't attended a centre bounce yet either, and I'm sure that'll be his thing. And to touch back on Jasper Fletcher, 2 or 3 times in the last month, Fags has dropped the hint that Jasper Fletcher will be an inside mid. Like he says, I've got no doubt he's going to be a great inside mid, and he's found a way to drop that into press conferences more often than not lately, which is, Do
you think that that he could kind of use Dunkley as a bit of a prototype for the kind of midfielder that he could be?
Oh yeah, 100%.
In terms of that defensive mindset, because I was thinking about it. People often sort of say like, who would you pick in your team, and who would you blah blah blah. It's like Darcy's like the best forward, and I've talked about Harris Andrews and stuff like that. And you go, if you're building a midfield, who's your first pick? I'm asking you a question.
Oh, Marcus Bontempelli.
Yeah, see, I'm picking Dunkley first.
I get why
if it's a draft, you're picking because he's the only. I mean, there's others, but he's the best defensive mindset.
He can't kick.
Midfielder that can still impact. I mean, he can't kick a set shot.
He can't. Oh yeah, he can't kick. No, he obviously can kick, but it's certainly not his strong point. I mean, that centering ball he did on the weekend after he took it.
Oh yeah,
he's a great overhead mark for a midfielder. I'll give him that. And yes, his defense is A1, but yeah, his ball use is suspect. I'm taking Bontempelli.
I mean, I guess, but if he's injured all the time, then what are you going to do? So, but I just think if you compare him to other similar, I mean, James Rowbottom might be up there in that position,
definitely.
I think.
Yeah.
But like Willem Drew, I'm taking Dunkley over him.
Brayshaw from Freo is pretty good. He's a really good two-way runner.
Yeah, but he's more of like a box-to-box type rather than a more defensive mindset guy. So Brayshaw's good. But yeah, I think if I'm building a midfield and we're drafting players, I think if you pick Bontempelli, I think there are players that can give you what Bontempelli gives you in a different way, but there aren't too many that can give you what Dunkley gives you in the same or different way.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
No, I do agree with what you're saying.
Because, you could say Bontempelli. I go Dunkley, you go Bontempelli. Go next. Who are you going?
You're going to hate me, but probably someone like Nick Dacos.
Yeah, so I was going to pick Nick Dacos next too, just to spite myself. Yeah, Lachie Neale.
Sure.
Who's your third?
Oh, God. Thinking all midfielders across the competition.
See, now you got a defensive midfielder to pick up here, so you're in trouble. Because you didn't pick Dunkley.
Oh, Jordan Dawson.
Okay, well, I'll go Will Ashcroft, and we've now have found out who the true fan is. So, I absolutely worked you there. Next question.
Yes, this one's from Giuseppe. Hipwood had an immaculate second half. The difference between his best and worst performances are huge. Do you think it's mental, physical, and how does he bridge the gap? It's a tough one.
I think it is physical at the moment.
Yeah. There would be a bit of mental there as well.
I think it's been physical for quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because let's not forget, and I know it's a long time ago, but he did come back from that ACL, and he fits in spurts, and he has struggled a little bit with injury here and there. I think he's the kind of guy that it'd be very hard to get him not to play. You know how you get some of those players that will, the Max Kings of the world that have a slight pain in the middle finger or and they're out.
Yep.
Hipwood you wouldn't be able to get him to not play if he was there. And I don't think it's a confidence thing because he always tries to do like ballsy things regardless of what point of, match fitness or whatever. So I think it's purely a body thing.
Yeah. Another one from Ben, who he asked a question earlier on in the show this year. You may remember this. He said, is Hugh, how long until Levi usurps Hugh McCluggage in the starting lineup? And we were thinking in the starting 22 or the midfield. Like, there's no way Hugh's getting dropped from our, team. And we had that discussion at the time. He said, no, just the midfield. But he also said at the time that he was on fraud watch for Hugh. I said, I don't know if I can run with you on that one. He has sent me a message on the weekend, said, clearly I was wrong. Is Hugh our best Brownlow chance at the moment?
Yes, at the moment. But I also think, and can someone bookmark, can that psychotic person that like clipped all the stuff of me and the insane things I said last year and then came back at them with me, can they clip the potential that, and also you're not psychotic, don't worry. I think Will Ashcroft will be leading our Brownlow at this point, not Hugh McCluggage.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Brownlow or BNF?
Brownlow.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that.
Because Ben said he's our best Brownlow chance.
Yep.
I don't follow the BNF. I just find out who wins at the end.
Yeah, I reckon Hugh would be leading at the moment, BNF.
But what about the Brownlow?
Yeah, it's a tough one because you got to try and work your way into the minds of umpires and how they would vote. But I don't know if they take notice of Hugh McCluggage.
They did a few years ago.
I
think he got 16 votes or 15 votes or something.
Alex, has speaking of Brownlow, has the Chaz, the Brownlow, already gone off to the engravers to get the Eric Hipwood treatment?
Yes.
Sure, there you go. Well, there. All right. Jake, thanks for a great product every week. Great listen. Thank you, Jake. 5 games in. Who is in All-Australian contention so far? He has Zorko, Harris, Hugh, Dunks, and maybe Zach and Jasper could be in contention if they keep up their form as well.
Dunkley won't make it, having just said everything that I've said.
Yes.
he will not be picked.
Yep.
Bailey, Zorko. I don't think Harris has warranted it yet because he had that absolutely calamitous game.
Yep.
Too early to say.
It is too early.
And I really hope we don't get that mid-season peeping Tom into the rooms like we did at Fox Footy last year, where it was. I mean, there's no Queenslander in the panel.
Yep.
So, although you did have Abby Holmes saying Jai Newcomb and Kane's shaking his head, and then that got played back, which was really funny. So maybe I would like to watch that again. I don't know.
All right. And I do want to give a shout out to Harrison, who got in touch with the show, who does his own, generic AFL podcast on YouTube as well. The show is called The Goal is AFL. You can check that out on YouTube. He reached out and said that he was a big fan of our show and appreciates the work we did and loves to listen in, and said we were somewhat of an inspiration for him and the stuff that he does. So a huge shout out to Harrison for
Jeez,
saying
that's
that.
way too much pressure.
I know. But it's nice to hear that sort of stuff, and you can always get in touch with the show any form. Go straight to the website brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. There's a contact form there as well, or any of our social media platforms. Always up for a chat. This is always good.
I think Ziggy probably assaulted us on 3 different channels to get that question through about the day breaks, because
he did say he tried to get in touch. Yeah, he did say he tried to get in touch with you on Discord.
He did. I always got time for Ziggy.
Yeah. No, he's good people, Ziggy. All right, let's have a quick look at the tipping. How did you go last week?
I mean,
in gather
the
round.
answer is going to be the same every week. Not great is going to be the answer. I got 6, I think.
Okay.
Which is fine, but I'm going nowhere slowly.
Yep.
Absolutely going nowhere. Because I started off doing dumb things, and here we are. Now, languishing in the 80s, and not the good kind of 80s, doing terribly. I obviously didn't tip. I tipped Adelaide and I tipped Sydney, and that didn't work. And if anyone tipped Port Adelaide, I don't know what they were smoking or who they had spoken to or which medium they'd been to that was actually a proper one. But, I don't like it. How'd you go?
I got 7. I got the bookmarks wrong, so I missed out on Adelaide and Port.
The bookmarks. Who are you, Jared Waitley?
Well, the Thursday night game, the Sunday night game.
Well, that's exactly the sort of thing that he would have said. Now, have we done like I've realised since we've done this, we haven't been like so-and-so's winning.
All right, well, let's have a look.
All I've done is stitched up that one guy and then talked about, like, I don't know, me being awful all the time.
Well, currently in the lead is Ned R. Username ZachAttack33, which is a bit of an homage to Zach Bailey, I would imagine, who is sitting on 36 at the moment. A number of people on 35.
So it looks like my mum tipped 8 with, I think, the round high. Somehow.
Wow.
What did she...
Lovely.
What did she... She's one above you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting on 33.
Who did she tip that wasn't, like, normal?
She must have tipped Port. Or
She
Geelong.
tipped Port. What is wrong with her?
Hey, mate. She's got the chockies there, so good on her.
Jeez. So the only one she didn't get was Adelaide. No. Good on her.
All right, well, let's have a look at this week's tips.
Yeah.
First game, obviously, Brisbane, Collingwood, Thursday night at the Gabba.
I'm obviously tipping Brisbane.
By how much?
Nope. I'm changing the rules.
You wanted this segment, mate.
Yeah, I know I did want the segment, but I don't do point predictions.
Righto.
The last time I did a point predictions, there was a hurricane and the game got cancelled.
Yeah,
So for the Lions, I'm happy doing it. Anyone else?
Sure.
All
All right, well, your next one, Carlton North.
Come back to that.
Essendon, surely.
Essendon Doan.
Freo to beat Melbourne.
Yep.
Adelaide GWS will be a tough one. It's at Adelaide Oval.
Adelaide,
yeah. Gold Coast to beat the Tigs at Marvel. Sydney Port.
Oh, Sydney.
Bulldogs.
That's where didn't they win by like 1 billion points there last year?
Well, no, that was at Adelaide Oval where they got smoked.
True.
And your last two are tough games. So you got Bulldogs St Kilda at Marvel and Geelong Hawthorn at the G on Easter Monday.
So I'm going to tip the Bulldogs with the thought that Bontempelli will be named.
Sure. And if he's not?
I don't know. I keep changing and then they go wrong. So I'm tipping North Melbourne.
To beat Carlton, sure.
Yeah.
All right, and Geelong Hawthorn.
Geelong.
I can't see the Hawks losing 2 in a row, eh?
Why?
Don't know.
What has shown you that they won't lose 2 in a row?
Well, they lost their first 5 last year and then didn't do that, so they didn't lose 2 in a row after that. And
Yeah,
I think Sam Mitchell will
I think
blast
Geelong
them.
do all the things that Hawthorn don't like.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. It's a be a tough one. I've also tipped Saints to beat Bulldogs. I think Saints play Marvel very, very well. So do the Bulldogs, though, to be fair. Callum Wilkie on Sam Darcy will be an interesting matchup.
I reckon Darcy will kick 7.
Sure. Well, there you go.
I don't know. That was out of nowhere. So, cool. All right, tipping's done. Oh, no, I forgot. Every week I forget.
We have the wheel. All right, but this time, so it's my turn to go first. I'll spin the wheel. We'll get a player, and I will pass or hold. Last week, who did we have in the end? It was.
So I got Piers Hanley, and then I skipped. No, not Piers
right.
Hanley. Yeah, it was Piers Hanley.
And then you ended up with Shaney Stiller. That's right.
And I had absolutely nothing to say about Shaney Stiller.
Fair enough. All right, well, for those of you that may just be jumping on the show, every player that has played 50 games for the Brisbane Lions is on a wheel. 50 games plus is on the wheel. We get a player each, and we have to mount our case as to why that player is the better one. So, the wheel is spinning.
I frantically set up my laptop now.
Matthew Clark. Do I want Matthew Clark? Do I want to pass or hold with Matthew Clark? I think I'm going to pass on Matthew Clark.
Shit.
AFLW head coach Matthew Clark. So you are stuck with Matthew Clark, and I have to try and mount the case for Mr. Fried Rice himself, Mr. Darcy Wilmot, the Premiership player. That's not a bad little guess there. I'm Darcy Wilmot, when would he have played his 50th game? Would have been fairly recently, I suppose.
Gotta be. I don't know. Matthew Clark is, funnily enough, a player that I remember.
Yeah, he was. It was.
But he was a skinhead, wasn't he?
No.
No.
No, you might be thinking.
Oh, I think
of
I'm
Matt
thinking
Kennedy.
of Kennedy.
Yeah.
Darcy Wilmot has played 61 games.
Well, there you go. So, some stage at the back end of last year, he played his 50th. So, I think Matthew Clark was the Brisbane Lions sort of like inaugural ruckman, I would have thought.
Yeah, I'm in all sorts of trouble here. So I think you should talk about Darcy Wilmot first, who you said would be the man you would most like your mum to marry last year. So I'm just going to give you that one.
I'm not sure I did say that. Did I
No,
say
you did.
that?
We yeah, you did. You said you seemed like a nice guy and you liked his rugged bed hair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that vaguely sounds familiar, but upon hearing it, I regret it.
It doesn't seem like something you'd say, but you said it. So.
Yeah. Is this one of those things where you had a gun to my head like you were telling me to pick Nick Dacos just before? Well, obviously, as we know, Darcy Wilmot, fan favourite, one of the great blokes, came onto the scene nice and early before he'd even played a game with his infamous Pepsi Max draft interview. Made his impact immediately in the 2022 series, the final series, debuted against Richmond, kicked a goal, went off his head, then played Melbourne, stayed for about an hour after the game, high-fiving every single person left in the MCG, and has just been an absolute mainstay in our back six since. I don't think he's bloody missed a game. And in the last 12 months, he's not only been part of a premiership team, but his ball use has lifted dramatically, his run and carry has lifted dramatically, and he would be one of the first picked each and every week in our premiership team. And yeah, what a fun little guy Darcy Wilmot is. The Wilmot way.
So for a bit of context, I think for a bit of context, that who would you want your mum to marry was a question by someone that we both were like, what is this question? It was not me with a gun. It was someone else, a listener with a gun.
One thing I will say that I love about Darcy Wilmot is that when every other player on our list either lives in like Bulimba or, you know, Coorparoo, Camp Hill, that sort of area, he is living out on like the west side near Fig Tree Pocket, I believe, because like he just loves to do stuff his own way. It's easy to get to Springfield, and yeah, he just seems like a guy that doesn't really, like a Joe Danaher type. He doesn't really give two shits about what people think. He seems like he was raised right.
You know, I used to go to uni with a guy. This is me padding for time because I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I can tell.
I used to go to uni with a guy who I'm fairly certain had the titular fig tree of Fig Tree Pocket in his backyard.
Sure, not in his pocket.
No, it did not. This tree did not fit in anyone's pocket. It was enormous. That's the end of that. Now, Matthew Clark is a veterinarian, so he likes animals.
Yep.
That's all I got to say about Matthew Clark. I'm sorry.
I think
he played for the Bears and he played for the Lions, and he was kind of there about the same time as Crackers, and then I think when Bo came in the 90s. So he was probably an understudy the majority of the time.
Then I've got to stop doing that. Then he went to the Crows after he left us, didn't he?
Yeah, and he went to St Kitts and Nevis afterwards, St Kilda.
Did he really?
And played 10 games. So, I mean, if you combine his two Bears and his Lions career, he played more games than he did at Adelaide, but he still played 120 games at Adelaide.
Played 260 games all up. That's a
lot of games.
It's not a bad career. Like, he can't have been that awful.
Oh, he definitely wasn't awful. I just don't remember him because at the time of him doing stuff, I was age 2 to 8.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Well, the wheel is merciless.
But it is so... I gotta say, I've been dealt some bad spins by the wheel. Some at my own hand. Others at the behest of you. Senor Brooks. So, yes, I don't think. I mean, that said,
Recency bias does play. There'll be people listening right now that are older than us. Like, I'm only 34 myself, so I do remember bits and pieces of Matthew Clark, but I'm not sitting here, looking back fondly on, the career of Matthew Clark and recency bias. The guys just won a premiership, Darcy Wilmot, so that does play into it. So, if you're sitting there going, oh, God, you guys aren't nearly talking about all the great stuff that Matthew Clark did, jump in on board. We'll, of course, put this up at our socials across the week so you can all have your say. Hey, just quickly as well, finally, the weather has been appropriate enough for me to wear the Froggy Leicester shirt that one of our listeners, James Collins, brought out last year, the Ice Dancers shirt. So, yeah, I just wanted to give that a late shout out because he sent it to me ages ago and just haven't had the chance to wear it because it's been bloody hot. And it's great. Fits well. Love it.
It's pretty good. I feel like it's vaguely not inflammatory, but wearing the Chris Fagan one in Geelong is quite fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Don't mind it. The weather here, I think we've swapped places, haven't we? It's like quite watery up here, Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah, there's a bit of rain around at the moment.
I had to play my first game of football in a long time yesterday, and it was 32 degrees, and I wanted to kill myself immediately.
No,
so, not fun.
Well,
but, yeah.
We've got another game coming up against Collingwood Thursday night. Easter Thursday, it is going to be an absolute cracker. And, Collingwood are looking the goods at the moment, so it's going to be a tough game. Tough game.
Houston still out?
Houston will be out for this week, yeah.
Okay, good.
Not sure about DeGoey, and there was another one that was sort of on the Schultz, I think will still be out as well.
Okay. So they're kind of not quite their best, and probably we're almost at our best at this point in time. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of stopping their kind of annoying forward run. I don't know. I think we match up pretty well against their forwards. My check always seems to just pull stuff out against us, though, which is annoying.
Yeah, Jamie Elliott's another one.
Yeah, so I think in terms of like quality of player, probably two of the most sort of skilled teams, I'd say. Like Hawthorn are there or thereabouts, but I think in terms of raw, if you match them up player to player, it's quite similar across the board. So hopefully it should be a good game.
I think it will. I think it'll be an absolute packed gabber, and if you see me around, come say g'day.
Make it hostile, boys.
Yeah. There'll be plenty of Collingwood fans there. There always are.
How do they do that? How are they allowed to do that when we've got 60,000 members? I don't like it.
No. I
want it to be 95% one with a little pocket of ferals down the bottom. So, which I don't think it'll be. They won't do that. So, yeah, make it hostile and make it loud.
Hell yeah.